We were the one who initiated the whole idea of bridging digital innovation hubs in the European Union together with African organizations, which is also working in the same area. So let me just first of all explain what is a digital innovation hub in Europe. It's a one-stop shop for European small and medium enterprises to actually get support from different organizations to take the step into the digital area. So basically, if you, for instance, have a bakery and you would like to set up a website and to be able to quickly also join delivery, you could actually get support from the European Commission. Or if you are a more sophisticated, if I may call it that way, more in the area of digital, if you need support, for instance, to use artificial intelligence, to build up your capacities in IoT and Internet of Things, you can get support from these hubs. And I think we believe, at least in the European Commission, that this is a very good idea. So our objective was here is to support the digitalization of small and medium-sized enterprises in Africa and support the organizations that we knew already, of course, were very active in this in Africa, and to work on bridging the European innovation with the African innovation, and to actually get, for the European side, also getting a lot of what I say inspiration from what is happening today in Africa, which is a fantastic digital innovation capacity. So that's the main purpose of why we wanted to have this project. Yeah. I think for us on the European side, when it comes to the D4D hub, so the Digital for Development hub, what we would like to see in this Team Europe initiative is that Europe works together. The European Union is 27 scattered member states. We often look at the same way, but we do organize ourselves differently in relation to our relations with our closest neighbor, which is Africa. And we believe that Europe can only be as strong as it can be if all the 27 member states are working together to see to that also the European Union and its institutions of the European Commission also works hand in hand. And the D4D hub, which is the organization that we have and that we hope is also going to be, by the way, we will have an Africa side of it, that actually Africa could come together and build those bridges to actually have a coherent policy towards us. So we would have both a European and African D4D hub. Now, in that sense, we could then sit together and work, not only governments, but also to have industry, to have civil society, to have academia with us, and to have, of course, both African countries and European countries to working together with us. So the big advantages here, of course, is that this is one of the areas which we know that the D4D hub should work with, because we know that digital innovation creates jobs. It creates also livelihood for people. It creates good quality jobs. It can also bring in that there is much more, what I say, investments in a specific area, and it then also generates a lot of growth. I mean, of course, the digital innovation hubs, the digital ecosystem is crucial. We have, as we have in the European Union, in Africa also, this is the driving force for growth. This is the driving force also for growth, for creating jobs, for addressing issues like climate change, to address things like also gender and gender gap. I mean, there was a lot of good women working and is being strengthened by the fact that they actually uses the digital tools. So digitalization is a crucial asset for what I say, sustainable and good future for us all, whether it is in Africa or in the European Union, and of course elsewhere in the world. We're not all alone. I hope that we will be able to actually interchange a lot. I think that we could actually see that that the African knowledge is brought to Europe, but we also think, of course, that the European knowledge and ideas can be brought to Africa. That interchange will actually bring us to become much stronger, because we know that both the European Union and Africa, in the sense of startups, in the sense of scale-ups, in the sense of making digitalization a big asset, we are not always the strongest. But together, I think we are going to build on our, what I say, our time zone, which is Africa and the European Union. Our time zone is going to be strengthened by this cooperation. As I said, all the good ideas in Africa about what digitalization can bring to business, I think is also extremely valid for the European Union. And the opposite, of course, is obvious too. We know that in Europe, the digitalization supports a lot agriculture, for instance, when it comes to farmers knowing when to seed at the right moment, farmers knowing where they can sell their crops at the very best place, farmers making also their agriculture much more green, that they would use less fertilizers. There's loads of good ideas about what digitization can bring in. I mean, artificial intelligence, the big data is supporting an agriculture which is much more, much better in the future, and much less, or say, resource consuming, and therefore less, heavy on our planet Earth. And of course, when it comes to climate change, we often say that obviously that digitalization is going to, because it is an area where there is a lot of energy being used, of course, and therefore it's a question about how much is digital polluting. But we also, at least where I work, we turn it around, saying that digitalization can also support climate change. For instance, just take the example of making energy efficient. Having a simple digital device which turns on and turns off heat, that can actually see to it that energy is not lost on the energy market, that it's used at the most efficient way. So this, I think, is something that digital is there for. I mean, and digital goes hand in hand with green, with the climate change. One thing that I think didn't come through completely in the questions is the fact how important this issue is in terms of what we are doing with Africa, how we are cooperating with Africa, because we believe that, of course, the human being, which is here, the people that are working with the startups are in the center of what we are doing in digitalization, that we actually support people and people's innovative power. And I mean, I think this is really the main part of it, and that we also create environment around what they are doing in terms of what we can do in terms of skills, in terms of digitalization of public services, that it's easy to get the right public services, that we actually fight things like corruption through digital. It's very difficult to bribe a computer. It might be possible, but it's more difficult than to bribe somebody. These are issues that we're actually addressing with this. The fact that it's easier for people to get identification and show themselves who they are in terms of when they want to buy something on the net, or when they wanted to get certain certificates and licenses. I mean, these are things that are the environment that we're building, and not least to say that actually there is the right connectivity, meaningful connectivity for people, that actually people can, and these companies can connect with the rest of the world by having enough megabytes by having affordable solutions in connectivity wherever they are around the world, and particularly in Africa, of course, where some areas are very remote. That being said, I'm from a country also up north where remote areas is also an issue, and again there we can learn from one another. It's part of a bigger concept of working peer-to-peer with Africa, on working on the challenges that is in front of us, both using the opportunities but also meeting the challenges of the digital era.